Howdy, y'all, and welcome to Liberty Libations. My name is Jake Green. Welcome to the show. We've got Steven, Zane, and Alden joining us today. Cheers, everybody.
Cheers.
Cheers. All right. Did you say cilantro?
Cilantro. Yeah, no.
No,
Cilantro.
There's no cilantro on this show. I don't care for that whatsoever. All right, well, let's start out with our usual. Talking about lpgeorgia.com. We've got an event coming up this Saturday with Osprey Shooting Solutions. It's going to be it's a 2A range day. Steven, are you going? Gonna get to go?
I'm not going to be able to make this one.
Zane, you making this one?
Unfortunately, can't make it, but wish I could.
We're really showing up for this event. we're doing a great job. Anyway, it's in Rome, Georgia at Osprey Shooting Solutions from 11 to 3 on Saturday. So you can go to our website, lpgeorgia.com, to learn more about that and get your ticket. I believe it's $50 for the whole day. And Edgar Mills, he's class act. He's awesome at training with firearms and training for other things as well. He also has another company, which I always mispronounce, the Southern Ornithological League. Ornithological League.
Yeah.
Yes.
Like an ornithopter?
What?
Ornithological?
Yeah.
Bird watching.
Bird watching.
Okay, yeah.
As long as you don't say orthodontical.
That's easier for me to say. I'll say that. So yeah. Head on out there, support Edgar, support the party. It's going to be a freaking good time. Make sure to like this video. Go follow us on Rumble. I know we have more people watching on Rumble. Sadly, we cannot see live comments on Rumble on StreamYard, which is very frustrating. Hopefully someday they'll get that implemented. But for now, we can't see comments, so we can't interact with all y'all. Maybe one day we'll just go over to a Rumble-only stream once YouTube boots us off.
Hey, by the way, the range day is almost sold out. So if you want to go, there's only a few tickets left.
All right. So range day almost sold out. If you want to go get your tickets now. Cause 2 days left, it'll be sold out before it gets there. And yeah, Edgar is not, if you go to his website, he is definitely aware that birds aren't real. Because his website has nothing to do with birds.
They're all just CIA spy cameras. That's all they are.
Neither is climate. That's not real either.
All right. Well, y'all got any updates from this week? Y'all got anything going on that we need to talk about before we get into the topics?
I finally got around to changing my Twitter handle.
Hey,
Placie _Z. That is much more on the nose. Good job, Zane. Yeah, now people can actually find you. Alden, what were you saying?
Oh, sorry. I don't know if you can tell, but my apartment is still quite bare.
Yeah, but you have light this week behind you.
Yeah, that's the window's open.
Oh, it's not dark over there yet?
It won't be yet, yeah.
Got you. Let's see. Robert says, I've been spending so much time asking for sponsors. I misread the title as all about the Robert. Like I've been holding people up asking for money. Oh, nice. All right. Well, Zach, let's get into our first story, buddy. This happened in Atlanta at what appears to be a nail salon, I guess. This robber tried to come in, and let's see what happens. Yeah, you got three folks just sitting in chairs at the counter. Pans over to the door. Guy walks in.
Everybody get down! Give me all your money! It's got the bucket! Give me all your money! Get down!
What is that?
He answers the phone and he's like, hello.
Give me the money! Where's the money? Everybody give me everything!
He's walking around. No one is paying any attention to this guy. And he's saying, give me all the money. Then he just walks out.
He just leaves. He gives up, yeah.
Wow.
That has got to be the best handling of a situation that I've ever seen by people who are in the middle of getting robbed.
Yeah.
Like,
They knew he didn't have anything.
Yeah, I mean, if you don't show the gun, then who's going to believe you? Like,
I think that was half of it. Yeah.
Yeah. I
They
mean,
called the bluff.
That's the perfect example right there of the government derives its power from the consent of the governed. That's like the IRS. Just if they had to walk around the street, give me your money, and everyone's like,
yeah,
screw off.
That is a perfect analogy.
Yeah.
Yes, that is very good. And then, but the issue is, after that nerdy IRS guy goes away, the SWAT team comes in and takes you out. So that's the difference there. This guy didn't have any backup.
Right.
It's just him trying to rob stores with a towel over his hand.
Sorry about the sirens on my end. I don't know if you can hear that.
Everybody can hear it, Alden. Everybody's pissed about it. So
Yeah.
Anyway, like a lot of our trivia tonight will be about. Actually, we might want to do trivia next because there's a lot of questions about what we're going to be talking about for the rest of the time. Yeah, I'm not sure. Do we think he had a gun? Do we think he didn't have a gun? Do you think
Or was it a Jennifer Lopez sock puppet?
I mean, you would think that if he had the gun, he would have brought it out eventually.
I don't know.
Otherwise, he was just standing there being completely humiliated. I mean, you're right about the charges, but if you were concerned about that, why would you even bring the gun?
That's a good point. That's a good point. Yeah.
My vote is no gun.
Your vote's no gun.
That's my vote.
Well, sadly, this isn't trivia. I can't give you a right answer.
No, I asked him. He said he had no gun yet.
Got it. We've got our third round of trivia today will be all about Atlanta crime, and it's only 3 questions, so it'll be really fun to talk about crime for.
There we go. Which word on the street is it is no longer depicted in a Jason Aldean video.
Oh yeah, no, that's fair. That's
Jason the 6 seconds they cut out was the Atlanta riots.
That is crazy. That's crazy. And who cut it out? Was it Jason Aldean or was it people playing it on CMT? Because I know CMT tried to cut ties with him.
Yeah, it might have been his producers. I mean, obviously, I doubt it was him directly, logging in and splicing the video.
Right.
But yeah, some of either his managers, his media team, somebody that owns the rights to the video just reduced the size of it by about 6 seconds.
Wow. That's crazy. It's just an innocuous thing. Like, that is absurd. Like, of course, you don't see, they cut out the riots.
The communist BLM riots in Atlanta in 2020. Yeah. There was like a little flash of that in his video of his crappy song. And now it's gone. Yeah.
The song's not very good. Like, I'm not protesting the song because of the crap that the reasons that the left is doing it. I'm protesting it because it's not a good song. Right? it's lyrically pathetic. It's musically bad. It's just lazy and very on the nose. It's just, I don't know. I mean, I understand why people are upset that like CMT cut ties with him or whatever, took it off at their airwaves and everything, but like, it's not a good song. It's not a good song. Play better music, Jason Aldean.
Any good songs?
Yes. He used to be good. I don't know how he is now, but when I was listening to him back when he first started, he was good.
Oh, and Luke Bryan too. That was when they still wrote some of their own songs.
Luke Bryan's never been good. He's a pretty boy idiot. No, Luke Bryan is not good. Talk about pop country. He went the poppiest of country.
He was legit country. I mean, he was borderline outlaw country when he started.
Not with his look, not with his face. Can't do any of that. All right. Well, I think we should do trivia. What do y'all think? Should we go to trivia?
Zane wins. Let's just give up. But yeah, let's do it.
All right. Let's go to trivia. Zach, let's do it, buddy. Oh.
Do you have the trivia to share?
Huh? Yeah, I have the trivia to share.
Oh, yeah. I see it now. Cool.
There we go. Nice. Here we go. Libations trivia. This day in history, which is our traditional first round from now on. SBF and Atlanta crime. What are you gawking about, Steven?
I looked up some of this stuff today. just being
all right.
Yeah.
All right. Steven's excited. He might actually
second place all the way.
So this might be a dumb question, but like, what is SBF?
Sam Bankman-Fried.
Oh,
okay.
So not sunscreen.
The guy who did the guy who did the FTX stuff.
Okay.
Alden.
You can tell I'm not going to do well on that one, apparently. So.
Alden, that's like months old, so your moving has nothing to do with it. Like this is just you being lazy and not reading Twitter.
This is the largest financial crime ever. Well, aside from the Federal Reserve.
I was just going to make the same joke. That's funny. Okay.
Hannah is apologizing that she can't be here to defend her championship and take down Zane once and for all.
A co-championship, yeah.
All right. So this day in history, SBF and Atlanta crime. Y'all know the rules. I'm not going to go over them this week.
There's no guest here.
Abuse the guest. Zane 5, Nick 3, Steve 1, audience 1, guest 1, Alden with a big fat goose egg. You know what's funny? It's like Alden is crazy knowledgeable, but he loses so hard at this game.
I know.
I feel you, Alden.
I wonder if that's the ADHD. You just can't quite get the stuff out in time.
It's always been for me that I don't do well like performing or like under pressure.
That's what she said.
Yeah. Yeah, ask any of my partners. Yeah.
All right, round 1. The day in history. Why doesn't it say this day in history? Don't ask me.
The day. There's one day.
On this day in 1996, Eric Rudolph murderously disrupted which event? Zane.
The Olympics.
The Olympics in Centennial Park in Atlanta.
He killed someone?
Oh, he was the bomb guy.
Set off a bomb. He killed, I don't know how many people died in that. I know at least one died in it.
Yeah, I don't think it was very many. A lot of people were injured. It was like a bomb that he had packed full of nails or something. So
oh, man.
There's a lot of shrapnel.
Homemade shrapnel, yeah.
I think one person died and 50 were injured, from what I remember.
Man. I had a teacher in that Olympics in track and field, actually.
Oh, wow. That's cool. That movie, Richard Jewell, is a really good movie about that. It makes it makes you feel for Richard Jewell because they blamed him. He was the security guard when it happened. And they blamed him as like a co-conspirator. And man, it took like 7 years to hunt down Eric Rudolph. And Richard Jewell was on the hook for a lot of it. Oh, wow. And the AJC never apologized.
Why did we? That's so interesting. Why did we blame him? That'd be like blaming, what is it, Securicom or Americom or whatever the security company of the Trade Center, for like 9/11 or something, like, which they actually are part of the problem, but that's a whole other thing.
Yeah.
But like, why the security guy? I don't know the story very well.
Yeah, I mean, they needed a scapegoat and they found him and pretty much decided they were going to ruin his life over it.
That's horrendous.
He died of a heart attack a couple of years after that all happened.
Yep,
man.
I think.
Did he? That might be true.
He definitely died pretty soon after this happened due to some health problems that were because of the stress of all of it.
Yeah.
That's rough.
That movie's really good. If you haven't watched Richard Jewell, go watch it. They did a really good job with it. All right. Next question. On this day in 1953, an armistice was reached to conclude the United States' first experiment with limited war during the Cold War. What was this event? Zane.
Was this the Korean War?
Korean War.
Dang. Nice.
At some point, I'm going to need one of the other two to hit the camera.
Yeah.
At the very least.
I'm just here for the Zane history lesson.
By the time I realized what it was, he'd already answered.
On this day in 1974, what process began during the Nixon presidency? Zane.
Impeachment.
Impeachment. All right.
Nice.
There we go. Next question. On this day in 1794, the architect of the Reign of Terror in the French Revolution was overthrown. What was his name? Zane.
Maximilian Robespierre.
I
Wow.
hate you. This is just going to be a Zane hate fest.
Steven, did you know that one too?
I did.
Nice.
Okay.
Yeah, I was forced to read Charles Dickens in high school.
Oh, okay.
Forced? Come on. He's got some good books.
He got paid by the word, and it's so obvious.
Well, they're good words at least.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
That's like American textbooks versus like textbooks overseas in like different countries. They're
exactly
much larger because of a similar thing, but
that is funny.
Yeah, I heard the way that the textbook industry works is that they essentially tell their textbook writers to look at all the existing textbooks and just include everything that's in all of them.
That's about right.
So that's how you end up with these 1,000-page textbooks for every class, and you only ever look at it once.
Yeah. No one wants that. All right, next question. On this day in 1921, what were scientists able to scientists were able to isolate a compound in order to treat what was then thought to be a fatal disease? What was the disease and the compound? Alden.
1921. Okay. Is it that they thought it was a fatal disease, but it was not a disease?
It was a fatal disease until this point.
Oh, is this polio? No, that's not even fatal.
Zane.
Is that fatal?
Is this penicillin and tuberculosis?
No. Steven, you get it free. Get free go.
Is polio fatal?
I'm going to go with vitamin C and scurvy.
Did you say scurvy and vitamin C?
Yes.
That's hilarious.
Nice. For those just listening, Hannah commented, COVID and bleach you ingest. All right, our audience gets a point. Diabetes and insulin.
Oh, man, I should know that. Oops.
Diabetes. All right. I forgot to put...
Which back in the ancient Greek times, they would just taste your urine, and if it tasted sweet, you had the diabetes.
Who had that job?
I know, right?
Prisoners, probably.
Well, I hear Socrates enjoyed it.
Yeah, I was going to say, depending on who is the subject, that could be the worst job or like an okay job. You know?
Right. Yeah. Socrates and Plato, they got down like that, from what I understand.
Yeah.
All right, next question. On this day in 2003, which British-born American entertainer died at the age of 100? Steven.
God, he's still alive. I was going to say Keith Richards, but no, that's obviously not it.
All right. Alden or Zane? Y'all got an answer? Zane.
Jackie Chan.
Perfect callback.
All right, Alden, it's up to you in the audience at this point.
Charlie Chaplin.
No. 2003.
I don't know.
Audience gets it. It's
No way, Bob Hope.
Bob Hope. Yep.
I didn't even know he was British born.
He's British born, yeah. I probably could have narrowed it down for y'all and said comedian, but he was an entertainer. He had other things, you know. He was an actor.
I like that the audience got it.
Hannah said Simon Cowell. All right, next question. On this day in 1830, this revolution began in France, leading to the abdication of Charles X and bringing Louis Philippe to the throne. Zane.
This became a lot easier once I remembered what months we were in, because I'm pretty sure it's the July Revolution.
It is the July Revolution.
I was going to say the French Revolution, so good for you.
It's a little earlier.
I was going to say June. I don't even know what month it is.
All right, next question. On this day in 1214, French King Philip II won the Battle of Bouvines, I think, against Otto IV, Emperor of what nation? Zane.
The Holy Roman Empire.
Oh my gosh. Zane, are you an encyclopedia?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. He answered that so stoically and just immediately. Next question. On this day in 1940, this lovable character made his debut in a film called A Wild Hare. Alden.
Bugs Bunny.
Bugs freaking Bunny. How about that?
All right.
I got
Alden
one.
is on the board.
On the board, yeah.
Alden, I love that you're just doing this. You're not doing this.
You want me to heil?
I want you to go at the camera.
Okay.
There you go. Zane is Chad GPT. All right, final question of round 1. On this day in 1890, this painter shot himself, eventually leading to his death 2 days later. Zane.
Van Gogh.
Vincent Van Gogh.
I was gonna say that too, and I was like, I thought he was the ear guy, but I guess he did both.
He was the ear guy, but that's why I just guessed that if you're gonna cut off your ear, there's a good chance you might try to just shoot yourself entirely.
I have a bad case of like when I think I know, I don't raise my hand kind of thing, but then when I don't know, you know what I mean? Like I'm cursed with this.
Maybe you should just raise your hand and see what happens.
I should, I guess. If it's an art question, I should just take a stab at it. I don't know.
All right, round. Okay, after one round, Zane 7, audience 2, Alden 1, Steve 0. Y'all are crushing it tonight. All right, round 2, Sam Bankman-Fried. I like that it looks like fried.
It definitely. I mean,
Sam was a bank man who fried.
Yeah.
All right, here we go. What was the total donation amount to campaigns by SBF with stolen money from FTX? Steven.
$20 million.
Wrong. This was in all the headlines today. Zane.
$100 billion.
100 billion.
All right, Alden in the audience.
I don't know, man. 4.2 million.
All right, everybody's got it wrong. It's open. Y'all get 10 seconds. Zane.
$1.
Wrong. Steven, I thought you did research on this today.
No, it was this day in history because it was 39 years ago Metallica dropped Ride the Lightning. So I was hoping that would come out.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Yeah, you did really well in that first round.
Yeah.
Steven's research is more fun, though. I like it.
Right. $5 million.
No. All right. That's it, everybody. $93 million. All right. Next question.
I was close.
Samsonite. I was way off.
What are the professions of SBF's mother and father? Zane.
I actually remember this because I was listening to part of the problem where they were playing a clip of the guy from Shark Tank talking about how his parents were both compliance lawyers.
You are correct. I'll give it to you. To be more specific, they're Stanford Law School professors now. But yes, they're both compliance lawyers.
Yeah, because Mr. Wonderful was like, oh, I know I can invest in this company. It's so safe because his parents are compliance lawyers. And then, a couple months later, he's on the news again being like, we need regulations and rules to prevent people like me from losing my money again. I mean, it's the concept of private gains but socialized losses. Because I mean, there are a lot of things that Mr. Wonderful does that I like. Like he's a big proponent of the free market in general, which is good. But he's just like most other rich people, where he'll try to use the government to his advantage.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Oh, Zane froze. It's time to ask another question.
He's killing it, man.
There we go.
I like the backstory. It's like the Slumdog Millionaire thing.
SBF is said to have gained his wealth prior to FTX from organizing arbitrage trading of what asset? Zane.
Dogecoin.
Wrong. Wrong. Steven.
Mutual funds.
Wrong. Alden in the audience.
Corn.
He was just a commodities trader.
And I guess Dogecoin too. That is wrong as well. All right, y'all got 10 seconds. Zane.
Pork bellies.
Wrong. Wrong.
Silver?
Stocks?
No.
Humans?
Wow. 5, 4,
Jeez.
3,
Political
2,
favor.
1.
Did you say cheese?
Girls on TikTok from Robert.
Nice.
Bitcoin.
Oh, I was so close. If only I had gone for an actual answer and not a meme answer.
Yeah.
Next question. In September of 2022, it was reported that SBF offered $5 billion to help a fellow tech mogul do what? Alden.
Masturbate.
In case you were under the impression that this is a family show.
Yeah.
It is. Yeah, no, it never was. It never was meant to be. Zane, Steven, you got anything?
I've got no clue.
Steven.
Develop a crypto coin.
Wrong. Zane, if you answer, I'll give you all a hint. Go.
Fill up an Olympic-sized swimming pool full of gold coins.
Peter Schiff has joined the chat.
His fellow tech mogul is one of the wealthiest men on earth. That's your
Social media website.
Zane.
Buy Twitter?
Elon Musk acquire Twitter.
Wow.
There you go.
Good job.
Yep. Offered $5 billion to help him with that of stolen funds.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
That's great.
I guess if you just acquire your money through these ways, then you can just throw it around. It doesn't even matter.
I mean, his Hannah says, get a girlfriend.
$5 billion.
Oh,
girl.
All right, next question. I don't know how to pronounce his name, but the CEO, this guy is the CEO of what crypto marketplace that sold $529 million worth of FTT, which is FTX native token, and accused SBF of shady activity, which ultimately helped lead to the downfall of FTX. So you're trying to name the marketplace that this guy is the CEO of. Zane.
Crypto.com.
Wrong.
I haven't even processed the question.
This guy basically outed Sam Bankman-Fried. And so what is he the CEO of? That's the question.
Okay.
Zach is wrong with Gemini.
Yeah, that's the Winklevoss twins.
Is it the
Winklevi?
Winklevi? Yeah.
Yeah, Gemini's the Winklevoss twins.
Just say the Winklevi, for goodness sake. Alden.
It's Winklevi, yeah. Is it Coinbase?
No, it's not Coinbase. They're Steven.
Blockfolio.
That no one even knows what that is.
That's what they bought that app. It was the best news aggregator app for crypto there ever was.
All right,
FTX
y'all have
bought
10
it.
seconds. Y'all have 10 seconds. Zane.
Exodus.
No. Audience gets it right. It is Binance.
Dang. I forgot about Binance.
Yep. Yeah, they got into a spat on Twitter, and this guy was like, I know what you're doing, man, and like outed him. And basically took all their money that they had in FTX, took it out, and outed this guy and sent him down. It was
Binance took a hit, when Mt. Gox had their thing happen. So
Binance is just as corrupt. Like they were kind of going at each other, but
same with Kraken.
Oh, yes, for sure. All right, after 2 rounds, it is. Somebody is in first. Who cares? Audience has 4. Alden has 1. Steve is still at 0. Round 3, Atlanta crime. Here we go. These are difficultly worded questions, I think, so just prepare yourselves. Which type of violent crime spiked the highest from 2019 to 2020 and has yet to drop back down to pre-2019 trends? Alden.
Armed robbery.
Hang on, I gotta make sure. Wrong. Steven, you were up next, buddy.
I'm gonna go with rape.
Thank goodness, no. Zane.
Honestly.
Carjacking.
No. I got 10
Is that
seconds.
considered violent? Oh yeah, if it's jacking, is that when someone's in the car? So that is violent.
It can actually go either way. Because somebody can be in the car, somebody might not be in the car. Murder is incorrect. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. aggravated assault.
Dang it.
All right.
Another
Next
case
question.
of the one I should have said.
Homicides in Atlanta in 2017 were roughly 1.7 per 10,000 people. What number per 10,000 did it reach in 2022? Stephen.
3.4.
Alden.
2.3.
I'm doing closest guess with this one. Zane.
Okay. Guess I'll go 2.7.
I knew
But
you'd
I
say that
also
just
wanna
to split
take-
the difference. Though.
I want to take this opportunity to remind everyone of when Nancy Pelosi said that 3 million Americans were dying from gun violence every day.
Is that a real quote?
Got guesses from Robert. Got a really high guess from Zach. 10,000 per 10,000.
Wouldn't that mean like in 100 days we'd all be dead or something? Like,
Pretty much, yeah.
or 150 or some kind of number like that.
So the correct answer, Stephen wins. 3.3.
Nice.
Stephen, you're on the board with 3 points. You just surpassed Alden with one correct guess.
Yes.
Final question of trivia. What property crime surpassed burglary in 2019 and has been widening the gap ever since? Zane.
Now is the time for carjacking.
And you are correct. Auto theft. All right. Thank you all for playing trivia. That's all we've got. The final score is Alden with 1, Steve with 3, audience with 4, and Zane with 14. Let me remind you that Hannah was the one who got both of the audience questions correct. So she destroyed both of y'all, even though she's not here, Stephen and Alden.
I just love to lose to Hannah. Yeah, no matter what the sport.
All right. Thank y'all for playing trivia. We can now go into our regularly scheduled programming. Let's go to that Fed article. Zach. Fed raises interest rates 0.25 points, opens door to another hike despite easing inflation. They also stated this week that we have avoided a recession. As my lumber prices continue to go up and my food prices continue to go up and the gas prices continue to be high and yeah.
But didn't you get a 500% raise this year? So it's fine.
I did give a raise to myself, but it was with money I didn't have, so it didn't really work out that well. So yeah,
I gave myself IOUs.
Yeah. What y'all have any initial thoughts on this before we go to Peter Steinonge?
So the words of Uncle Jerome that have been echoing in my mind for months now, when he's talking about the biggest boon to our economy currently is the real estate market. And he's trying to hike the rates just to let out a little steam. He wants to just let a little air out of the balloon of the real estate market without totally deflating it. So he understands, because once the air starts coming out, it's going to be in a declining trend. And so then, the Fed will have to, pivot, hold place, or reverse position quickly enough to not let too much air out to where he doesn't collapse the market, which is basically like, we're trying to collapse the markets. Mm-hmm. So it's, every time they hike the interest rates, because that was before he started the whole hiking thing, he was even saying it takes 6 to 9 months for an interest rate hike to fully take effect, for us to really see what it does to the price actions in all the markets. He's doing it every month. So it's just, if you use the guy's own words, if you listen to, his first 3 speeches of 2022, before this trend really started, you understand that his goal is to take us down a peg. We are not, and this is just my insight. I don't have any official records proving this, but we are not allowed to have 4% GDP. It cannot happen. If we get over 3% GDP, the global markets start to spook. Something has to happen. Oh, they've got to have a global credit crunch. They've got to tighten the money supply worldwide. And you notice, there were 3 quarters back to back while Trump was in office. I'm not saying this guy's Jesus by any means. He did a lot of wrong, but while he was in office, and of course Congress is partly to credit for this as well because they made these policies. We had over 4% GDP 3 consecutive quarters, and then COVID happened. So it's just it's in this modern era, in this post World War II era, we are not allowed to have 4% plus GDP. We have to channel somewhere in the 2 to 3% range, because that puts China on the catch-up pattern.
And if you do hit 4, there's a plague.
Yeah, something. Yeah, a war breaks out, something blows up, something goes terribly wrong globally.
I guess to push back a little bit on that. So yeah, GDP growth does tend to go down when you raise rates and try to contract a little bit. But some of that is because you're kind of getting rid of growth that was just illusory to begin with. Like we all, as committed libertarians, know that when the rate is too low, that causes, a lot of malinvestment and kind of an illusion of prosperity when there is no additional real wealth. So
like zombie companies
and the issue becomes, because we have a central authority determining what the interest rate is instead of letting the market determine what the interest rate is, we don't actually know what the correct interest rate should be that would allow, real growth without causing a big bubble. So I think when it was like in 2021 and the beginning of 2022, when it was like below 1%, I think we were all pretty safe in saying these rates are ridiculously too low and need to go up. But now, I mean, maybe it's very possible you're right that they're trying to get rid of real growth, but I still think that with all the inflation, maybe a 5% interest rate is still not even high enough. And this is why I think it's kind of funny when I hear financial analysts have a really strong opinion of what they think that the Fed funds rate should be, because you are essentially saying that you know so much about the entire U.S. economy. You are so all-knowing. You have a 180 IQ that you know exactly what the correct price of what the correct interest rate should be, when nobody has any idea, because that's something that only 330 million people all interacting in the market can determine. No one person can know it.
Spot on, Zane.
And is there even a one fixed number, or is it something that should kind of vacillate over the years even?
Yeah, I mean, it's just like any other price where there are a million different factors that influence it.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Robert says in the 70s and 80s, it was 14% mortgages. And
in the late 90s as well.
Way higher, too. Yeah, it used to be way higher. Like, I remember
and you had to have,
like 25.
You had to have your boss at work, 2 of your best friends, your mom and your neighbor sign off on your mortgage loan as well. You had all these co-signers for your character witnesses and all this kind of stuff. And
it's a better system. Absolutely.
And that's in the wake of, what was it, Equifax, that was hubbed out of Atlanta. In the wake of them having the sensitive information of well over 100 million people on a server in Argentina where the login was admin.
Yeah, I remember that.
In the wake of that, they got the slap on the wrist for it. Why can't we, in this blockchain digital age, have a key fob that we carry around, that's got our own biometrics we can unlock if we want to do business with somebody? We tap fobs with somebody, they've got our information. I gave it to that dude only, and I can even put a time limit on it. Like this dude, 7 days, queue that up, bump fobs, bam, he can review all of the information I want him to have access to for 7 days. Why do we have to have credit bureaus data mining us?
I feel like it's just bump fobs sounds dirty.
Yeah, right. Yeah, but it's it's a sign of trust, obviously, because you wouldn't. You
I'm with you on the stranger. Point, though. Like,
Hey man, want to tap fobs?
Yeah, I'm not alone.
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah,
I too listen to Jason Aldean. Then you bump fobs.
All right, Zach, let's bring on Peter St. Onge, my favorite Twitter economist. Not my favorite.
Yet another major community bank tapped out, even after Janet Yellen clearly told us the banking system remains safe and remains sound, as California's third largest bank, PacWest, agreed to be gobbled up by another regional for less than its market price. This is rare in mergers. It basically means it's a rescue. PacWest had similar issues to Silicon Valley Bank back in March. Too many loans to risky tech ventures, along with falling bonds courtesy of Jerome Powell. And PacWest had been on the hospice list ever since March. They'd already lost almost a fifth of their deposits in the first 6 months of this year, including a 10% deposit drain in a single week in May, as customers worried about their money. Now, PacWest first tried to reassure depositors by unloading assets at fire sale prices. So they sold off a $2.6 billion property loan portfolio, then unloaded $3.5 billion in specialty finance loans. They sold their entire real estate lending unit, which is usually a mainstay for regional banks who dominate local real estate, since the major banks have no idea how property works in Tulsa or, in this case, Los Angeles. But even that was not enough, as customers kept fleeing, because while PacWest was busy patching the holes in the boat, depositors kept cashing out into money markets that pay 5% instead of the 1% or lower that banks pay. This meant PacWest was on a treadmill that goes faster than they could run, faster than they could unload assets. I've done a couple of videos on bank consolidation, how the mega banks are gobbling up the community banks. In fact, PacWest itself was a roll-up of 31 tiny banks from California, Colorado, and North Carolina. And that apparently was not enough. Accelerating into the recession, I think we're going to see more of these regional mergers as smaller banks cling together to keep from swirling down the drain. Still, I don't think it will work because small banks are in an impossible spot. They have to do two things at the same time that are in direct opposition. On the one hand, they have to rein in the risky lending so their depositors don't run away to the too big to fail banks that enjoy gold-plated bailout guarantees from Janet Yellen and Jerome Powell. But at the same time, they also have to offer depositors enough interest to keep them from withdrawing to money markets that pay 5 times more, again, courtesy of Jerome Powell's interest rate hikes. In finance, it is basically impossible to simultaneously reduce risk and raise return, meaning that they are digging the hole, they're just digging it differently. It's activity, it's not progress. So now we will see this play out in real time with this new merger. The new acquiring bank has already promised to sell off $13 billion in assets. That's over a third of the combined bank, so it starts to look almost like a liquidation. At that point, we will see whether this was an actual rescue or whether it was a drowning man pulling his rescuer down with him. Okay, we'll be watching. See you next time.
So that's Peter St. Onge. Yeah, he's very good at analyzing these situations. I like listening to him. He's all scripted too, which is great. You never get an errant word, whereas with us, every other word is like, "What did he just say?" Freaking idiots.
What word isn't errant? Yeah. I like his analogies. Though.
It's enough to make you want to latibulate.
Latibulate?
Which is, hide in the corner until conditions improve.
Okay.
But so with GDP, with it, obviously, we've been in a bubble, inside a bubble, inside a bubble. If you listen to Peter Schiff for the last 20 years. So it's due to shrink at some time. The guaranteed boom or bust cycle, even with all the manipulation and command and control stuff in place, you're eventually going to have some quarters of negative growth. It's just part of the cycle. And, one of the things I've heard, one of the talking heads on the radio around here in Atlanta, I've heard them refer to it as creative destruction of the economy. And, that's kind of a hopeful messaging, but it's pretty cool too, because it is capitalistic in nature, where it's, the boom or bust cycle. Things have to die to be reborn. They have to be reformed to be made better. Because obviously, once you get to a certain size, you do have to shrink to grow in a different direction in order to, thrive in the changing market. Because without government help or subsidies, you can't all be Bell South. You can't all just be the Bell monopolies. It's just, at a certain point, you've run the course of what you can do in your market, and you either evolve with it, change or reform, or sell off and liquidate.
But if you've got the government giving some banks dialysis until they're 120 years old, then
right,
and then not giving anything to others, you know what I mean? And then that's where I feel like it's unfair in this case. And when in 2008, if no one helped these banks, then they would some of them would have died, and we would have had to have learned from that, and we would have had to have had. And some of these other smaller banks might have been the ones that actually became then a bigger bank.
Well, and I will point out too that aside from money from the likes of Jeffrey Epstein, Chase Bank is one of those too big to fail banks that does not rely on government handouts. Chase Bank, more than once in our lifetime, has bailed out the government because they are bigger than the government. So that's one of those.
They're intertwined with the Fed. That's why.
Well, sure. And it stems from that. Absolutely. But they had that power then that they were actually able to force that through. They may or may not had to sink the Titanic, but they got it done.
I don't know what you're talking about, Stephen.
All the opponents to the Federal Reserve Act were on the Titanic.
I'm kidding. I know what you're talking about.
I was going to say, I think he's kidding.
Yeah. Going back to talking about creative destruction and the overall boom bust cycle, I think it is important to point out that while creative destruction obviously will cause the bankruptcy of many individual companies that don't see their competitors coming, it's not what causes overall big recessions in the boom bust cycle. A lot of people think that there's something inherent in capitalism that just all of a sudden people all at the same time make a bunch of bad decisions and everybody has to lose their jobs all at once. There's nothing intrinsic in the market that makes everybody become very idiotic all at once. It is, there are lots of individual companies that will make bad decisions and go out of business one at a time, just randomly throughout time. But it is the intervention and the command and control economy which causes the cyclical nature of that. And I think that's a very important thing that we're clear about.
Cyclical, like in mass, like in waves of growth and destruction.
It's not entire industries don't just go tango uniform, by their own doing. I'm with you there.
Tango uniform. You've used that before. It just took me a second to remember what.
I actually learned that from our chat. Yeah,
that is hilarious. Yeah, I'm pretty sure there's a documentary out there that talks about how the boom bust cycle is not a natural thing and that it's manufactured. And what is the name of that movie? Is it Divide and Dominate? Does that sound familiar to anybody? Oh my gosh. It's
almost... you mean How the Powerful Steal More Power?
Yes, that's the one. Yeah. Oh my gosh. You nailed it. It's almost like someone really took the time to research this and lay it out in the simplest of terms, and yet still no one watches,
Imagine
All right.
if people died and were born in the same chunks that like companies did. That would be interesting.
Explain yourself.
Like if when we're talking about the cycles of like, growth and destruction, imagine if people got sick and died in big patterns and waves of these, like without,
Oh, like a bunch of athletes age 18 to 35 and they called it a coincidence?
Yeah.
Yeah, what if? That'd be wild, wouldn't it?
Wow, what if the end of Infinity War were real?
That's a segue. I didn't mean to.
There we go. Hannah knows what she's talking about. Oscar nom win. Actually, the crazy thing is, I heard this past week. Sorry, can y'all hear me well? Okay, cool. Mm-hmm. Sorry, my volume here was doing weird things. They changed the requirements for the Oscars. And
how so?
If you look at what the qualifications are now, not a single movie from the past ever would have won an Oscar. So the
not a single movie that's won.
Correct.
Would have won. Yeah.
Correct. They changed it to your crew must be a certain percentage of minority, whether that's LGBTQ, race, female, whatever. Your lead cast must have a certain percentage of
lesbians,
black, lesbian, all that kind of stuff. Your secondary cast, all the secondary characters must have a specific percentage. Your tertiary characters must have a specific percentage. Your story has to have something to do with race or inequality or all this garbage.
Is Tyler Perry writing these rules?
Right. It's freaking nuts. And so this is now the process to get nominated for the most prestigious award in film.
I'm glad I stopped caring about awards years ago.
Yeah, it sounds like Tyler Perry wrote these rules because, look, I love the guy's movies, but I know some folks that have done various deliveries and food services on his studios and his properties. And if you're white, you're not even allowed to be seen in front of his guests.
And to win a Grammy, I think you have
The
to
man
have
is
the
a
word pussy
racist.
in your song. Like,
I can't attest to that. I do know that he casts plenty of my friends many of them are white.
There you go. But
my buddy Bill Barrett, I've gone to his private parties. Nikki works for him, like firsthand. Like Nikki works with him on a daily basis when they're on set. So
wow.
like, I do not believe that is technically the case. I would want more information because from what I've heard, and from Nikki's firsthand experience, that is not the case.
Okay.
So I know I don't care for any of his shows. I don't care for any of his movies. I think they're all just factory line, like garbage crap.
They're pretty cookie cutter, yeah.
I can't see I see no evidence of him being that way that you're describing right now. Alden, you're slowly fading into the shadows.
I know. I really don't have any my lighting set up yet. I'm just in a dark, empty room with boxes. I'm on the floor right now.
I noticed that.
Cigarette, read some Frank poetry.
All right. Let's Zach, let's pull up the next Sam Bankman-Fried. Let's just play this real quick. This is Sam Bankman-Fried coming out of the U.S. Department of Justice. All charges were dropped relating to his campaign donations. They dropped $93 million worth of charges against Sam Bankman-Fried, and he gets off scot-free from that charge. Wow. I don't know about the rest of his charges. He has other charges, obviously. But
also,
everything is
unrelated. Kevin Spacey got off on all charges as well.
Interesting.
Did he?
Yeah.
Kevin Spacey's charges were much harder to prove. This is so freaking obvious.
Yeah.
Like Kevin Spacey's charges, most of those were from like 30 years ago. Like, how are you going to prove any of that? Sam Bankman-Fried did it in public with everybody watching like a moron.
Yeah.
Like, how I don't understand how do you drop charges for something that is so obviously a crime and things that he obviously did so wrong by stealing millions and millions and millions of dollars of people's money and
because
funneling
it involves
into campaigns.
People high enough in the government that if he went down, so did they.
Yep. That's exactly right.
Just never forget, you and I remember this. Zane, I don't know if you remember this or not. You might have been paying attention then. Barney Frank, his basically his retirement speech.
Yep.
From the House was, they were scrutinizing the Dodd-Frank bill. They were scrutinizing whether or not he hired underage male strippers to come to his parties. Mm-hmm. And he got on the floor of the House on C-SPAN and was like, I've got the list of guests. You guys signed in at the front door. Did you forget? I will name them. You were there with me. You're going to pass this bill and you're going to let me retire.
Yep.
And then he later on joined the board of Signature Bank, guys.
Nice.
Robert says it's the same people who can't figure out who dropped Coke in the White House.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. Oh, the same people that let a maniac run loose in the White House when Obama was in there.
Yeah. Yeah. That was crazy. That was a crazy one. Yeah.
Was that a real story?
Grumpy says rules for the, not for ma. That's what Grumpy says. Watch your typing, Grumpy. You got to get it right. Okay, this is YouTube. It's classy. All right, you can pull up Sam Bankman-Fried's charges. I just had more stuff on there. Sam Bankman-Fried donated $93 million in stolen customer funds to U.S. politicians. Today, the U.S. government dropped a political campaign finance criminal charge against SBF. Like, what more? It's astounding. Like, what more could you possibly need than this is stolen money that he gave to campaigns? Like, the evidence is right there. It's like he stole the money and then it ended up in campaigns and now it's disappeared. Like, the fact that people aren't outraged about this, like people just sweep this under the rug. People forget about Sam Bankman-Fried. Like, it's I think it's the same along the same lines of something that we've been talking about a lot for the past, or I've been harping on a lot probably for the last like 10 episodes, where it's oversaturation. So you'll hear about Sam Bankman-Fried for a week straight, nonstop, forever, and then when you hear his name again, you're like I'm tired of him. I don't want to hear anything about Sam Bankman-Fried.
Yep.
And I think has a big part to do with it, and
it's part of it. It's the leverage he had on the government officials. It's Epstein's client list. They're all intertwined. They have this star chamber of where they aggregate money and power, and they're kind of allowed to do anything. And if you get caught red-handed, they'll sweep it under the rug. But watch, this guy's not going to be a part of any major project for a while, if ever.
No.
But he's probably going to get to keep his mansion in the Bahamas.
So here's a meme that I thought was great. Sam Bankman-Fried funnels $90 million of stolen money to Democrats. DOJ and IRS are blind. Your $600 Venmo transaction. They're looking at.
Yeah. Well, hey, close to 20 of that 90 million went to Republicans as well. So don't forget that.
Cool. He paid for a bunch of losers. Congrats.
Right.
He paid off both sides. Like,
yeah. Well, that's how it works. Like,
yeah, that's why
Jared said that in Divide and Dominate.
I was just gonna say that. I was gonna reference Divide and Dominate with the two sides to it.
Yeah. And how does that make you feel? That's how I said it.
Yeah, I mean, and now the supposed lesson coming out of it is not that we need to punish people who steal things. It's that we need to regulate all of crypto.
Yeah.
So it's harder.
That's exactly right. So is he a red herring as well? Was he there to kind of, cannonball negative attention to certain actions in certain markets? Because that's usually what they like to do. They like to never let a good crisis go to waste, a la Rahm Emanuel. Mm-hmm. And there's going to be policy on the back ends of this, even though the person that committed the crime that caused the policy reaction served no punishment.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Or receive no punishment. It's just that's exactly how that works. It's just which makes you think this was designed. It's all part of it. It was part of the plan.
Yeah. That
whether or not this guy signed on to it, that's certainly how he's being used now.
I almost just assume things are part of a larger plan at this point, and then you have to prove to me otherwise instead of the other way around at this point. But
exactly. Theft is okay as long as you give the big guy 10%.
Cut, man. Yeah,
that's exactly right. Zach, I'm going to add another one. All right. To lead into our next story, here's U.S. Congressman. I forget his daggum name. Sherman. Here we go.
Peabody?
We are told that cryptocurrency is very innovative. Look at the incredible financial innovation of Enron and WorldCom, and reflect on the fact that I don't believe that Satoshi Nakamoto was innovative. We are told that cryptocurrency.
So to lead into our next story, which is all about Bitcoin, this idiot
Satoshi not going to work here anymore.
Yeah. So this idiot decides to try to parallel cryptocurrency with Enron, like they're somehow the same thing. Where I mean, there are some cryptos that definitely are, but Bitcoin absolutely is not. And then here we have BlackRock study recommends 84.9% Bitcoin allocation for optimal portfolio.
Wow.
Mind you, they were completely against Bitcoin until very recently. And now that they bought billions of dollars of Bitcoin.
I was just going to say, did they get in on it and now they want it to go up? Yeah.
Yep, that's exactly it. I
didn't even know. I just guessed because I knew they were against it forever when they were invested in, I don't know, everything but that. But
yep. And now they want everybody to buy it. So to pump up their gains, and then they'll dump it, and then Bitcoin will take a dip for a while, and then BlackRock will miss out because it'll keep going up, and then screw you, BlackRock.
Yeah.
Dumbass idiots. So yeah, I just thought that was very interesting. This guy trying to parallel cryptocurrency. It's just it's a bunch of dummies who have no idea what they're talking about. They have
I
not
knew
looked
he
into
was-
the technology, can't understand the technology, don't even
No.
know how to pronounce the name of the
Innovative.
guy who invented it.
Innovative.
Yeah, they
He
can't
even
even pronounce the word
innovative.
innovative.
Yeah. I knew not to trust him at that point.
Well, and
This
that's how
reminds
you
me of
get
the time that senator said that the internet is a series of tubes. It's just that, but updated for the modern age.
It's just tech plumbing. That's all it is.
Oh, goodness gracious.
Well, and that's something that's been on the radio around here recently is what is it, pig roasting? So it's they target people that have more money than sense, essentially. You know, so you try to pump something up to them as this is a good investment, this is a good buy-in. You're getting in at just the right time. It's going to go sky high. You know, you've all seen these little clickbait videos of like, you know, and then you buy some BS supplement at the end of it. You know, oh, this is going to protect my heart for 25 years. I can eat pig fat and not die. You know, stuff like that. And they're selling like fake crypto investments to these people. And that's like the number one financial crime these days is people in their retirement or that just have more money than sense are buying into some what they think is a good investment. And then these folks just steal their identity. They don't just take their money up front. You know, this isn't just the Nigerian prince and jail scam. You're not getting fake Oakley sent over here from Africa somewhere. I mean, they're taking your identity now. It's you know, they're cleaning house.
Have you seen
I think you have inspired me to launch a new crypto called Bacon Bitcoin.
Bacon Bitcoin? I love it.
I was going to say a similar thing. I was going to make a similar joke, but about just pig fat. Pig fat coin. That's so funny.
Pig fat coin. I love it. Have y'all seen the South Park episode about the guy scamming old people with selling jewelry on like Home Shopping Network or whatever?
Oh, yeah.
At the end of the episode, all the old people are calling into this guy, and he thinks he has customers on the phone, but instead they're just saying, "You should kill yourself. You should kill yourself.
Yeah.
You should kill yourself. Yeah, you should kill yourself." And then he kills himself on air.
Right.
It's a great episode. I mean, it's dark.
I love
that
that
it is
hilarious. And he
hilarious.
kills himself on air, and you're like, classic episode, classic South Park.
It was
really
classic.
is.
It was
No,
so
it really
good. It was so good. Oh man, I just watched that one recently. Hilarious.
I need to go back and watch some of the like best episodes, like just a run of the best of.
I mean, there's 26 friggin' seasons so far, and they're still going. Like,
Yeah.
it's hard to go back and pick which ones to watch. Like, there's so many good ones.
I still have some favorites that I would.
Yeah, that one was a good one.
That was like the QVC
Imagination
jab
Land was a good one.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that was a great one. I think that may have been the one to get me into South Park. Was Imagination.
Yeah, and Mr. Hanky is a
Yeah.
that is a Christmas tradition for part of my family.
I love
Nice.
anything with Hanky or Towley and Mr. Hanky or whatever.
Yeah, Towley.
I was very close a year and a half ago, and it's actually coming back full circle again. I almost hosted a towel use intervention for my wife, because she's one of those like I use it once, it goes in the wash, and I'm like,
What?
this isn't the Four Seasons lady. You know, as long as I'm doing the laundry, you're gonna use that thing 2 or 3 days in a row, and then we're gonna talk about a new one.
That towel right there, hanging right there. I watched that for the first time since I've been up here 3 days ago.
There you go.
You get it. You live in a van.
Shut your mouth, Zane. That makes no difference where I live. I still have
Up by the
access to
river.
washing machines. I just like you don't need to wash them. I just let it air dry and it's fine.
But I had a whole PowerPoint presentation on what the American textile industry does to the rivers in Bangladesh.
Yeah.
You little potbelly kids. We're going to have a whole intervention, and Towley from South Park was like the head of the presentation.
That is so
Was
good.
it the South Park movie where Towley's trying to like break into the like military base and he's trying to tap the code on the door and he's like, "That's it," and they're like, "You got it," and he's like, "No, that's the beat to what was it? It was like a
can't
funky
remember that.
song.
Funky Town.
Yeah, Funky
Yep.
Town. Anyway, now I'm just
great.
reliving South Park episodes. here.
Hannah, why do you want to know how I wash my towel? I wash it in a
He
washing
peed on
machine.
it. How else do you wash your towel?
Pee is sterile, you know. That's
I
the
was
best
going to
way
say
to
the
do
same
it.
thing.
Was it-
Until it hits the air.
Was it sweet?
There you go. Yeah.
I've
yeah,
got a
taste.
fish towel now. That's a good callback. Yeah.
Yeah.
All
At
right,
first I was
Zach.
like, what a gross question. And then I was like, oh, wait, no. Great callback. Yeah.
Zach, do you have the next one pulled up? This is not the next one, but we can just sit here and talk about. You can leave it up until you get the next one up.
Which, by the way, though, I don't have the exact percentage in front of me, but if you had an 84.9% portfolio allocation of Bitcoin for, let's say, the last 7 years,
yeah,
you would be up like way more than the market.
You would be up an enormous amount.
Yeah, you started 7 years ago. Yeah,
which and the market's been on a steady climb for what, going on 12, 13 years now, like this unprecedented bull market that we're in. One of the biggest bears at Morgan Stanley earlier this week announced that he's thrown in the towel. I can't short anything for this company and make them money right now.
All right.
Being able to predict the future would make investing a lot easier.
Right.
That's fair, Zane. All right, we're gonna keep on this track of Congress people who have no idea what they're talking about.
Senator Feinstein.
Her aides are telling her to just say aye. Just say aye.
I would like
Just say
to
aye.
support a yes vote on
She
this.
just starts talking.
It provides $823 billion. That's an increase of $26 billion for the Department of Defense.
The arguments are already done.
And
Like,
it
we're to the
funds
voting stage
priorities
here.
submitted.
Yeah, just say aye.
Okay, just
Great.
aye.
Thank you.
Senator Feinstein.
So that was a senator, Senator Dianne Feinstein,
Did she drive home?
trying to say aye instead of continuing to deliberate this whatever issue they were talking about, which they had already done for hours, and all she had to do was say aye, and she had no idea what anybody was trying to tell her.
And that's I don't know. I've been in some libertarian debates after about an hour and a half of it. I'm like, what are we talking about? But
fair enough.
Sure, but yeah.
Grumpy does bring up a good one too, though. The McConnell death stare that happened yesterday was hysterical. I mean, sad that he had a stroke on camera, but
is that what it was?
Dude, he was in the middle of a sentence and then just did this. And like didn't move for 19 seconds.
I don't feel these edibles yet, guys.
That's the meme that's going around. When the edibles kick in, is what it is. Yeah. But like, okay, so I heard them talking about this on Tim Pool today or yesterday. Sorry. Alden,
I'm not used to doing this.
You're running this high class show. Fed. Oh yeah, where is that?
I gotta change my alarm time.
Damn it! There we go. Boom.
Oh yeah. I deserve that one.
Yeah, it's better if we don't announce it. That would have been better. But
it's
so Tim Pool was talking about this. No one cares, Alden. No, I know. No, I don't even care. You hush your mouth. They were talking about, should there be an age at which people cannot serve in politics anymore? And like most people agreed on the show that it shouldn't be age, it should be apprehension, lucidity. And lucidity. There should be comprehension.
There should be an age where you test for lucidity, as in the same with a driver's test. When you turn, I don't know, whatever, 55, 65, pick an age. But like, if you're collecting Social Security, you should probably also have a check to see if you know your left foot from your dick. I don't know.
Yes, that's very true.
The brown pants.
For me, they tend to roll together. So,
Yeah. But. It's just crazy to think that Joe Biden, isn't he the oldest president of all time? And he's about to run
of all time. Yeah.
He's about to run for president again against somebody who would also be the oldest president of all time.
They both will be the oldest president of all time. Like, I think at some point in their next, if they survive the 4 years, they'll each still be.
To be fair,
president at that point.
Trump is still vibrant. So there's that. Like Trump still can actually make sense.
That's the cocaine. Yeah.
Whatever.
Well, he's not on cocaine. It's it was whatever diet pill was crazy in the 80s. It predated phentermine. Before phentermine was the widely prescribed diet pill.
You're trying to say Fetterman?
No, phentermine. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but So he's on that one. But there was a story that I think the Hill broke the story. There was a big pharmacist in DC that when they're doing these late night sessions that go on past midnight and all that kind of stuff. It's this guy's job to run the drugs and the prescriptions into there, and all the various members of Congress. And he's like, I can't tell you what goes to who. He's like, but we've got antipsychotic meds, we've got dementia meds, we've got diet pills, we've got all kinds of mood altering, brain altering, judgment impairing substances going into the floor of Congress in their late night sessions, because these people are missing their doses and they're having to expedite their delivery. And we're having to break into the chambers, knock in, and the sergeant at arms is letting us in to deliver these meds to these folks while they're in session for these kind of things. At the time, they were debating, I think it was the Omnibus bill, is what they were calling it, which at the time was like the largest stopgap measurement that they had ever done. It was like 800 billion. And
they had this guy to let in the drug dealer,
Yeah, but this he's a pharmacist on the Hill, and he's just like, you would not believe what I'm prescribing to these people.
Yeah,
like that. If I were to see this person on the street, just like as a teenager, I would be like, he doesn't even need to manage a Wendy's, and this is our Congress.
Isn't ProVigil? Isn't that the one that Israeli fighter pilots use to stay awake on long missions? Like, isn't that what they use? Like,
that would make sense. Like ProVigilance,
insane. Like it's like an insane amount of drugs in that thing. It's basically
it was like late 80s. The FDA was like, nah. Not anymore.
Chrome.
Yeah, there you go.
Nice.
Interesting. Yeah, I mean, just the fact that someone is trying to tell her repeatedly to just say I. She
doesn't even have the contextual awareness to get when people are telling her that she didn't get it. Like, that's bad.
Yeah. Weekend at Bernie's for half these folks.
It's really
those are the red flag laws I support. Let's have some common sense regulation on the assault pen of our legislators.
I don't know enough to know.
Look, if you're on prescribed psychotropics and you're writing laws telling me how to live my life, I deserve to know.
That's
like we have a Supreme Court justice that hadn't been able to drive himself to work since 2006 because he's on epilepsy meds that are, wait for it, known to cloud judgment.
And cause driving.
Yeah, there we go. The worst part is they won't have to live to see the effects of their policies. That is true.
And even if it's not a timeline thing, a lot of the times they live outside of the effect bubble of their policies any damn way, like because they just don't have the same, they don't live the same lives that average people do, basically.
Yeah, I mean, they all send their kids to private school. They all even make lifestyle choices that are more traditionally conservative than what they go around all day telling people how they should live.
Yeah.
Like among like rich white liberals, most of them are like 2-parent households, didn't have any kids until they got married. Not saying that these people are conservative in any sense, except that they're making lifestyle choices that they constantly go around saying, how dare you say that this is how people should live? Except that's how all of them live.
Right. Yep.
Did you watch the video of Pocahontas, Elizabeth Warren, having a beer with Redditors, doing an AMA?
Mm-mm. What? She had a beer with Redditors?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, this happened a couple of years ago. It was so cringe. Oh, my gosh. She's like trying to cut up with her husband, and you could tell like he's just trying to watch football and not paying attention to her at all. And she's just trying to live stream something, and she's just like, holding the beer bottle with 2 fingers, like just sipping it. She doesn't really like it.
That's so funny.
Yeah, I'm relatable, guys. Look at me.
Dadgummit, I wish I could find that thing because that'd be hilarious.
We should have a trivia pool to guess what beer she's drinking.
Yeah, I can't find it. If someone can find that video, drop it in the chat or send it to us because I would love to see it.
Oh, Elizabeth Warren asked me anything?
Yeah.
Okay, let me see what I can do here.
I think Zach might be looking for it. I think he found it.
Oh my God.
A beer.
During a live chat.
Get me a beer. During a live chat from her kitchen in Cambridge on New Year's Eve, Senator Elizabeth Warren drinks beer from a bottle, compliments her husband,
And I'm crazy.
and chats with people making comments online.
It's good to see you, Darth. I'm glad you're here.
Why are we doing it?
This reminds me of the picture that Chuck Schumer tweeted out of himself, like drinking a beer, watching like one of Joe Biden's speeches or just something. I can't remember what, but the caption of the tweet was sitting here enjoying my plant-based beer. And then somebody responded to him to be like, what do you think other beer is made out of?
As opposed to the pork fat beers that I love. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's one thing when AOC does this, because she used to live stream like every night after work, like in her pajamas, eating a thing of ice cream.
I was going to compare.
She would like live stream herself playing Among Us and stuff.
Yeah, but
yeah,
she's also attractive, so that helps. Elizabeth Warren should not be doing this at all.
She's also, you can tell, in her element doing it, whereas Elizabeth Warren is just like.
Yes.
Did you see the two fingers on the beer bottle? Like it was.
Yeah.
She was just,
and why did she lean into the camera to drink a beer? That's so weird.
Right. Yeah, she's like leaning forward. You know, this isn't a champagne flute, lady.
These are the people who are telling us what to do with cryptocurrency.
Oh, I was going to ask Stephen what I can only think of like one or two, but can you name a beer that has animal in it? A style of beer, not like a specific make, but
style of beer that has animal in it.
Yeah, like a non-vegan beer or whatever.
Human. I mean, that would be lactose sugar. So like a milk stout.
That counts. I think anything with honey would count depending on how you classify yourself. But even, oyster stouts are a step further. They have the actual oysters in them.
Zach says oyster beer.
Oyster beer, yeah.
Okay.
I don't think there's pork-based beer, Grumpy. No.
There's like bacon, like essence sometimes. And
yes,
things.
Yeah, my buddies and I made a maple bacon chocolate stout.
See? Yeah.
Oh, okay. You're gonna have to make that for me.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I'll drink with you if we do that.
Yeah. More Beer sells beer candy, and it's
Oh my
maple
God.
bacon.
My mouth just started watering so badly. Like it's really going now. All right, let's get to the next one. This is our last story of the night. I thought it would take us to some weird places, so here we go.
Do you believe our government has made contact with intelligent extraterrestrials?
Something I can't discuss in public setting.
Okay, I can't ask when you think this occurred. If you believe we have crashed craft, stated earlier, do we have the bodies of the pilots who piloted this craft?
As I've stated publicly already in my News Nation interview, biologics came with some of these recoveries. Yeah.
Were they, I guess, human or non-human biologics?
Non-human, and that was the assessment of people with direct knowledge on the program I talked to that are currently still on the program.
Do you believe our government has?
All right, Zach. But okay, so first of all, what the frick is biologics? Who uses that word?
So they call them non-human biological entities. I forget exactly what the acronym is, but in the 90s there was a guy named Lieutenant Colonel Phil Corso. He wrote a book called The Day After Roswell, and this dude chronicles his career through various military entities. At the time, he was just like a private in the Army or something like that, but he was in Roswell, New Mexico during the crash, and he just kind of landed into this role, and they pulled stuff out of that crash is what he writes in this book. And what the weather balloon they paraded through the streets the next day was obviously staged. It was like a diversion tactic, which worked really well for about 30 years.
And then they recanted. All the newspapers had to kind of like say a different thing the very next day and take back all the headlines and everything.
Right. So it was his job through various higher ups and all this kind of stuff, and he had to hide it from even the president several times. And he writes this in his book that he had to take various technologies like Kevlar was one of them, and fiber optics, which he writes about it that back in the 60s they were taking notes. He was collaborating with Skunk Works, and they just defined it as long, thin glass tubes that seem to emit data through beams of light, which is fiber optics.
which was not a thing at that time as far as
exactly. I mean, they recovered this in the 50s, is what he said, and he had to wait until our engineering had the ability to at least dissect what it did and reverse engineer it, and then act like we invented it.
Mm-hmm.
So he had to hide this stuff from all the other military branches, other various government entities, even the president himself sometimes, and wait until he had military contractor type stuff that had somewhat caught up to this, to where he could get somebody in confidence and give them a piece of something, and then have them look at it long enough to go, aha, that's my missing piece. Now we invented this stuff, and it skyrocketed our technology. That's stuff he was saying. And so we got, Kevlar, fiber optics. He said that there was some kind of control system in there that obviously it had some kind of like mind reading technology.
Like a neural link interface kind of thing.
Yeah. And then of course, then he had, like 2 foot tall, alien looking beings in pickle jars that he was carrying around the country. So this guy's not the first. Jeremy Corbyn's not the first, or whoever it was, with the Tic Tac. It's
Jeremy Corbyn is like the filmmaker guy, I think, right?
Yeah, Jeremy Corbyn's a filmmaker. It was the pilot. Was the Tic Tac.
Yeah, so he's not the first. The pilots in the 60s and the 70s talking about the Foo Fighters. They're not the first. Lieutenant Colonel Phil Corso is allegedly the OG. Even though he didn't even really claim this in his book. It's just if you look at his dates and you compare, where he was stationed at the time, stuff he was talking about, and you look at all these dates, this was our guy. That he was the closest to all of it, that maintained all of it, that lived the longest.
Yeah, and I do know that like during the Cold War, or right after World War II, I believe that the Soviets reported like tons of UFOs and unidentified things, especially on their radar.
Especially after the advent of like the nuclear bomb and all that.
And Putin gave those records to Obama. And we were supposed to do the same in turn. And that's how you had the declassification of Project Bluebeam. And it was watered down. I mean, we obviously omitted some stuff.
Yeah, it's 68% like redacted, basically.
Yeah.
Interesting.
The only thing I take issue with like as we're talking about like in these sessions is the word extraterrestrial, because that's making an assumption that they are not from Earth specifically. And the more I've looked into it, the more that I would include something that has been here for longer than we have, kind of a thing, just more interdimensional.
There it is. Yeah. If you get into the whole David Icke thing,
honestly, it's as much of a possibility, if not more of a possibility. And I just don't care for the word ET in this as much, honestly, because it makes an assumption.
So extra dimensional, ED.
ED.
you prefer ED, Alden.
I do. Yeah,
that's what I'm hearing.
Yeah, I want to talk more about ED.
Yeah,
that's interesting. So I don't know. Yeah, that's a little semantics for me. Like just something that we don't know about is.
Yeah, but you brought up the whole semantic thing with like the what was the word? Entity
biologics. Like
biologics. Yeah,
no one uses that word.
So is it? Why not UFO? Why are we doing? What is it now?
I think Neutrogena uses that word on a lot of their products.
my point, Alden. My point was that this is a guy testifying, I think under oath, right?
Aren't they all supposed to be like? Yeah.
I think these hearings are under oath, where he uses a word that is extremely broad and that no one uses, so that I don't know. It's very fishy to me.
He's been coached.
Oh, it's
exactly. It's like
totally fishy,
you could have just said, yes, we found a body that wasn't human.
I like that he's like,
found
I can't
biologics.
talk about. Yeah, what was the first vague question that he's like, I can't talk about it? And then she's like, did you find alien bodies? And he's like, basically, yeah. And we're like, well, what is it that you? Why is the other thing classified, but you can say yes to this? Like,
yeah,
so dumb.
It's all idiotic. I mean, I did see something about
UAE. Is that the new term? Sorry, go
UAE.
ahead.
That's United
Yeah.
United Arab Emirates.
No, maybe that's not it then. Yeah.
UAP?
UAP. Yeah,
UAP.
phenomena. That's what it is. Yeah.
Yeah.
That they're switching. It's the same thing. It doesn't matter.
Well, and that's Dr. Stephen Greer's been pushing hard on this as well. He's got a few specials on Netflix and all that. He's done some testimonies before Congress, but it's like unacknowledged special access programs or something like that. Because it's not classified data. If you're asking about classified data, they can tell you that doesn't exist because it doesn't, because it's not classified. It's special access.
Right.
Didn't
Space Force just request to increase their budget to like $40 billion? So my thought is, I don't know. There's something there. Something like they're saying there are these aliens all of a sudden.
Money. That's what's there.
I don't know. Well, that's what I'm saying. They want more money, and so they're using all of these alien things that have come out in the last few months to get that money.
Yeah,
that's what I'm saying.
Or did they allow and create all the alien stuff that's coming out? You know what I mean?
There we go. I think that as well. Biologics could be a
Not to say they're not
non-terrestrial amino acid. We find them on meteorites. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Biologics means nothing. It means nothing.
Which it's one of our most powerful antioxidants that we know about is PQQ, pyrroloquinolquinoline. It was some of the stuff I was getting my mom to take to mitigate the chemo effects. And her chemo doctor actually pulled me aside and was like, "What the hell did you have her taking?" I was like, "Why?" He's like, "Because I've never seen my chemo not work on someone like this." I was like, "Yeah, take that."
Interesting.
But
PQQ, is that you said?
Yeah, PQQ. And from what I understand, one of the main sources of PQQ is they harvest it from meteorites.
Wow.
Interesting.
Yeah. So,
interesting.
That's wild.
Yeah, it wasn't cheap.
No, I can't imagine it wouldn't be.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, this is obviously some dog and pony stuff to get some black budget programs passed.
Yeah.
I'm upset that MTG is on this committee and she's not on the subcommittee, because holy crap, if she was in there, we would have some clips.
Yes, we would. All right, Zach, put the next video up.
Movement before the hippies was basically a square movement. It was all these basically young people, very clean cut. The men were all wearing. If you look at old like Vietnam War protests, like everybody's all like dressed up like they're going to a business meeting. It was like, and it was developing into a real threat. And so the theory is the hippie movement and rock and roll and the drug culture of the '60s was developed in order to basically sabotage the anti-war movement.
Wow.
Right. Which basically is what happened, right? Because then what happened is the anti-war movement became associated with hippies, and that caused Americans to decide what side they were on, and then that led to Nixon being elected twice.
That's interesting.
I believe it.
I believe it too.
This is kind of the point that I bring up to, like, when I talk to my family, which is, very conservative, about why the Vietnam War was such a big mistake, because it, led to the hippie movement and all the social consequences of that. And it all kind of got tied up into, people were so mad about having to go to Vietnam that they also decided that they were just going to make a lot of really bad life choices. But the original reason that they were upset is completely understandable.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to go halfway across the world and die for no reason whatsoever.
And
right. Yeah, the French already screwed this up and failed. Why am I going to succeed?
Right, exactly.
What business do we have over here other than we might get cheap furniture 30 years from now?
I don't think anybody here is presuming competence in government, Robert. Let's see. Before Grumpy left, the U.S. Senate today passed a National Defense Authorization Act that contains multiple and far-reaching provisions related to unidentified anomalous phenomena. Well, I think we got to do some research on that.
So it's still UAP, but they changed aerial to anomalous now. It's now a third thing, but with the same acronym.
That's great.
There we
go.
That's
ridiculous.
Nothing
now
like
we need
using
Megan Thee Stallion to do a remix of UAP.
Oh man, y'all, that's all the stories I've got. I have 5 funny videos. I'm down with getting out of here early if y'all want to, unless y'all had something you wanted to talk about. If you had any topics we needed to talk about tonight,
I can hang out till midnight and talk about aliens.
I like what Elizabeth put in the chat just a second ago. You know, the Ronald Reagan quote.
Okay.
That. There we go.
Perhaps we need some outside universal threat to make us recognize this common bond.
He's
Ronald
not
Reagan.
The only one to have said.
And Reagan, I know we called Jimmy Carter the good guy that was just an idiot. And Ronald Reagan may be, the idiot that tried to be a good guy. I don't know. But
played a good guy on TV.
He gave the vaccine makers the immunity. He started the drug war. And then he actually wrote the narrative for 9/11. And he didn't even realize it, but he could have been talking about aliens at the same time.
He definitely played his part with that, and he was one of the many people to kind of continue the like New World Order type BS and the common threat thing and that whole narrative. And he's one of many in a line that it was basically planted, I think, in office and has been helping spin new parts of the same tapestry since basically Kennedy or whatever.
Well, and this is why, I don't want to look to John Voight and Kurt Russell to be our, national libertarian heroes. Cause these guys, actors are professional liars. So are attorneys. But for some reason, those are the guys that we like, oh, well, they're totally qualified to be president. They lie for a living. Let's put them in there. Whatever happened to the guy's great with the economy. He was an awesome banker. Yeah. He's a great military strategist. Let's put him in there.
I don't think that those qualify you to be president.
Not alone. Who I actually kind of liked that was like a celebrity, but ended up in office was Jesse Ventura. He's like the only like celebrity turned politician that I actually kind of enjoy.
There you go. Well, and he and Neil Bortz have both taken a far left turn in their retirement. I don't know if you follow
that. May be true. Yeah, I don't know as much about him in recent years or whatever. That may be true. A lot of people have taken kind of the Kool-Aid on that one over the years to kind of cover their own butt. Maybe, I don't know.
Woodrow
Wilson. Yeah,
there we go.
But again, that was like before the like what I consider the modern era of presidents, like since the like World War II or the '60s, somewhere in that era, like when the CIA became basically the ones that I think run the.
Well, and it's basically what Eisenhower warned us about. I'm not saying he was our savior either, but his farewell speech is chilling.
Yeah.
And
JFK
so true.
Speeches that are dark, man. Yeah. Very true, very dark, very eerie. We should all be really afraid of the things that move in the shadows here. But
you're moving in the shadows literally as we speak.
Yeah. I was just joking my water. That's hilarious.
All right. Well, let's go to some funny stuff. Then if something comes up, we can so this is Montana looks like Joe Biden sniffing Idaho. Go ahead.
Well, who's Idaho sniffing?
I mean, it fits so nicely.
But look, Idaho's got a face too.
I mean, it is
That's
hilarious. Yeah, that one is so
my
good.
God. He's sniffing Idaho's hair.
Yeah, I'm basically in his eyeball right there.
There you go.
Yeah,
the apple of his eye.
I'm the apple of his eye. All right, what's up next? Oh, this is a great story. In 1948, a man wore 30-pound, three-toed lead shoes and stomped around a Florida beach during the night.
Nice.
Many people were convinced that a massive penguin or similar creature was roaming the area.
Why assume penguin?
He kept the prank up for 10 years, visiting various beaches. The hoax wasn't revealed until 40 years later.
That is commitment. That is hilarious. Why penguin? Of all the things to assume, first of all, there is no such thing as a giant penguin that big. And
well,
why
there's
would
no
you
such
assume
thing
penguin?
as whatever that would have been.
Right, but why penguin of all things? Like, if it can be anything in the world because it doesn't exist now, like why start at penguin in Florida? That makes no sense.
It's a good question. I just thought
that is hilarious, though.
Absolutely amazing. I mean, a 4 decades long prank is epic. Like, how many people were thinking about that for their entire lives? Like, for they were 6 years old when it started, and for the next 40 years they were thinking, what made those dadgum prints? How many careers were launched in marine biology because of this
to
dude?
find this animal?
Yeah.
How many cryptozoologists is this man responsible for?
Exactly.
Nice.
I mean, that is absolutely hilarious. This guy's epic. I wish that they had said his name in here, because I want to give him some props. I'm sure he's gone now.
Well, it's obviously Milton Friedman.
Oh yeah, no, I mean, it kind of looks that way.
I want someone to make a statue out of this man, but he has to be wearing those shoes.
Oh man! All right, what's the next one? Let's go to the next one, Zachary.
Last Christmas, we canceled a song that was written in the 1940s called Baby It's Cold Outside. People said that they were triggered, that the lyrics were rapey, and they had toxic masculinity. And that's fine if you feel that way, but radio stations across the country wouldn't play the song because people were outraged, which is fine if you feel that way. But at the exact same time, the #1 song in this nation for over 2 months was Wet Ass Pussy. I am not making that up. You can look it up. Google it. So I want to wrap up my show by comparing and contrasting the lyrics of these 2 songs. If indeed this country has lost its fucking mind, shall we? Let's start with the horribly offensive Christmas song written just after World War II. I really can't stay, baby, it's cold outside. I gotta go away, baby, it's cold outside. This evening has been so very nice. Yeah, you f***ing with some wet ass pussy. Bring a bucket and a mop for this wet ass pussy. Beat it up, N-word, extra large, extra hard. Put this pussy right in your face, swipe your nose like a credit card. My mother will start to worry. Beautiful, what's your hurry? My father will be pacing the floor. Listen to that fireplace roar.
Great. My mother will start to worry.
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah,
Ben Shapiro's wife has left the chat.
Yeah. The real reason Baby It's Cold Outside is on PC is because of global warming. It's just not cold anymore. You can't talk about being cold.
There we go. Hey, you bring something up there. So I've heard incessantly on the news, and this was a Project Veritas drop a few months ago. CNN was talking about how climate news was going to be the new COVID for CNN, and
they need something.
They've been incessant. This is the hottest July on record. Oh, this is the hottest July. The whole world is just melting. We're all just in an inferno. This is, Dante's 7th level. If you just quit driving SUVs and pay Al Gore more money, this wouldn't happen. I couldn't help myself. So, I live in Fayette County. So I looked up their historical data because I remember skateboarding in high school. And because, at the time I wore shorts down almost to my ankles. And
you did, yeah.
Right. I swear my wallet chain was going to fall off. It was so hot. Several years while I was in high school trying to skateboard in the street in front of my house because it was over 100 degrees, a whole lot. And as hot as this July has been, it has not been over 100 degrees. It has felt like over 100 degrees, but it has not been over 100 degrees. And I just looked it up. The hottest month on record in Fayette County, Georgia, on record, September of 1925. So, just don't believe this crap they're trying to sell you on the news. It might be the hottest July on average for the whole country, because it's hot in the whole country.
Mm-hmm.
But not for all time, because you can't. There's no data. There's no data going back more than like
how far back does it go?
Well, that's why they say on record. Because it doesn't go very far. It goes into like the late 1800s.
So the technical people say on record, but then the people who come in afterwards and all the little idiot Twitter people will come in and say it's the hottest year ever. Like, that's the issue.
I know we've talked about this on the show before, but what they'll do to estimate the temperature in years before we have records is look at ice core samples and tree rings and stuff. Yeah. The only problem is that if you try to look at ice cores and tree rings from today, you will find that that measurement is telling you that it's colder than it actually is. Which means that if you are depending on that to figure out how cold it was hundreds of years ago,
Then
you're
gonna be
probably not
averaging
getting a
low.
proper estimate. This
Yeah.
is why you get that hockey stick that hockey stick graph where it looks like temperature was consistently pretty low for hundreds or thousands of years, and then it just suddenly shoots up in like 1960 or whatever. Because that's when we switched to actually having
Mercury.
records, not looking at ice cores.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and I'm not going to go full Lord Christopher Monckton on you here, but a lot of the areas, if you look at these areas where they're sampling this data, it's on freaking airplane runways.
It so often is at an
So
airport,
obviously,
on the tarmac.
you're going to read a higher temperature when you have freaking 747s sailing by you every 12 minutes all day in the middle of the summer. Obviously, you're going to get a higher reading there.
Or just the ambient temperature bouncing off a blacktop all the time. So
Amen.
Yeah.
You know, they put these in like the least advantageous places. You know, if you record your own data on your back porch, you know, fully exposed sun and in the shade, you know, you'll get a more accurate reading. And I mean, it's been hot, it's been humid, but the hottest ever, kiss my butt, man. Like I like I'm old and fat now, and I remember about to fall out when I was skateboarding all day every day, 17 years old, it being hotter actually.
Oh yeah, and like every time there's a hurricane, they'll be like, "This particular hurricane is the fault of climate change." And it's like if you actually look at the 30 or 40-year trend of hurricanes, there is no trend of them getting worse at all. It's all media hype.
The worst hurricane, I mean, the strongest to hit the country was kind of before like official records and before the official like gradient of category of hurricane. And it was the one that hit Galveston. Is that what it was? Texas? Back in, I don't know, 18...
Oh, like 1910.
Or is that what it was? Okay.
It was like the only Cat 5 on record or something.
It would
Pre-Katrina.
They estimate a Cat like 6 almost. Like it would have been the strongest that we would have seen at the time. And it was 100 years ago or more. I mean, it was... the sailors off the coast said they smelled the death. It killed so many people, and they don't even know officially how many people it killed, but it destroyed the city. Like it was nothing left of it. But anyway, that was just estimates, so we don't officially know, but it's guessed that it would be probably the strongest storm that we in any, you know, time where we've, you know, Western civilization has populated the continent we would have seen at that time or whatever.
Well, and then
just
you got,
for, you know, reference.
The creator of the Weather Channel, you know, he's even said that, you know, all the stuff that they're touting these days is just basically manufactured BS. And you know, I brought up Lord Christopher Monckton earlier because there's a law in the books in Great Britain that, you know, for all their flaws, they do get some things right. That if you're selling a documentary and you're wanting to air it in schools and things like that, so what was it, Al Gore, his Inconvenient Lie. You know, he was trying to push that in the schools, and so much of it was disproved that they had it pulled.
I remember I was there. I was like 10 or something when that was going on. I remember the kind of the push and pull of that at the time.
Oh, exactly. Well, and, you know, they try to blame carbon emissions and all this kind of stuff. Well, and you know, I also understand that, you know, methane is technically carbon based. You know, there are other gases that are really actually harmful that have a carbon molecule in them. But these days, when you hear UN officials and, you know, the Klaus Schwab types, all these other, you know, global influencers, politicians, what have you, and they're talking about, you know, carbon emissions, they're referencing specifically CO2, which plants need to breathe to produce oxygen.
Right.
And at the end of the day, the CO2 they're trying to reduce is you. And they'll stop at nothing to get to it. And it's just, you look at all these. So what was it? The volcano in Iceland, what, in the last 10 years? I'm not even going to try to pronounce the name of it, but if you buy a vowel, if you buy a vowel, you're a millionaire on Wheel of Fortune. It put out more CO2 in the 2 weeks it was spewing out than the entirety of the Industrial Revolution onward.
Yeah.
And that's just one volcano. You have underwater volcanoes. You have that one volcano in Hawaii that's been constantly erupting for the last 70 years. That's you get real estate agents that'll tell you, oh, well, they're not making any more land. Yeah, well, bull crap, because you get an acre a year in Hawaii from this one volcano.
Right.
Oh, that's funny. Yeah.
Yeah. How much CO2 is that putting out? You start to consider these things, and then it's so egomaniacal. It's just egomaniacal to think that we have that effect on climate. Now you also have to differentiate, which the average person can't do. You have to differentiate between weather and climate.
Right.
Weather is an isolated event. Weather
is an average over a long time.
What's it feel like at my house right now?
Right.
Yeah.
Climate is the trend over time over a region.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So do we have an effect on climate? We have not been observing data long enough to even say that.
What about your point of reference? I was just going to say, like, over what kind of time? And you could do over a century, or are we going to talk about millions of years? Because then that gets real crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I was going to say, okay, so Nord Stream and the Gulf leak and even just in general, just like all the junk that comes over from China on boats does like more damage than all the cars like in the country in a year.
Absolutely. Well, and our industry, it is big enough in certain areas and powerful enough. We do have an impact on weather. So, what's it feel like on my back porch right now?
Yeah.
We do have that effect. There's Microsoft data centers in Lithia Springs, Georgia, that if the power goes out, you have 17 big ass generators that fire up, and the smoke storm they spew out will generate a lightning storm over that data center.
That's interesting.
Wow.
That's weather manipulation.
Right. Yeah.
In an isolated event.
Incidental.
Right. It covers 40 acres, but that's, we do have that kind of impact. Mm-hmm. Now, if we have that kind of impact spread over a large enough area, or a plurality of areas over a long period of time, can we influence climate? I don't really know, but what is for sure is, once you start messing with certain things, the earth does have a way of fighting back.
Mm-hmm.
And we have seen this.
And even if you stipulate that humans are having an effect on the climate, I think that there is a case to be made that we are having some effect, not probably nearly as much as most people would lead you to believe. But even if you stipulated that, I think the correct answer is not for us to really change our behavior at all, because energy and carbon consumption is human flourishing and civilization. Build better buildings if you're afraid of hurricanes. Come up with, don't take federal loans and take federal insurance to build these huge high rises right on the coast. There are other ways that we can go about this that don't involve moving into a cube and eating the bugs.
Right. Right. And there's ways to be smart with the environment that still make sense. That don't require you to impose across the board, across the nation of 300 plus million people, economic and behavioral changes that they just have to have. Otherwise, the environment's going to crap because of
let's be
this
real
one area.
Across the board, because it's going to impact the average person far more than it's going to impact certain industries. And the U.S. military is exempt from anything that we come up with for this. Like, they can use as much diesel as they want. It doesn't matter. They can burn trash piles, whatever.
Yeah,
so and
a wise man told me they're the largest holder of golf courses on the planet. So,
the military?
Yeah, the U.S. military.
Wow, I know that they're the largest employer in the world. Is the U.S. military?
Well, and then you get into the water battles. So you're going to tell people in Atlanta, Georgia, that they can't water their lawn certain days of the week because this endangered species, this purple mussel in the bank somewhere down in Florida, needs the Chattahoochee River to survive. But you also have to, and it's also because of this owl, this gray spotted owl. It's the darter snail, the gray spotted owl and the darter snail. Which, by the way, guess what the primary diet of the gray spotted owl is? The darter snail.
Oh,
yeah. We have to alternate which days we water our lawn because both of these can kill themselves 400 miles south of us.
Yep. Shut down military bases to fight climate change.
Yeah.
I've never actually watched it. But I absolutely hate the premise of the movie Hoot, where it's a bunch of kids
What is
that are
it?
trying to save this. The movie Hoot. It's
Oh.
a bunch of kids that are trying to save this endangered owl, so they keep sabotaging like some developer that's trying to build like some hotel or something. And obviously they're portrayed as the good guys against the evil developers.
Right.
But screw the owls. Humans are awesome. Build more hotels. That's my
There we
Absolutely.
go.
Have you seen an owl without feathers?
What has an
Screw
owl
those
ever
things.
done?
Yeah, who was it that was talking about that? What comedian was talking about the owl without feathers thing? I think it's the guy that he has the podcast show as well. Anyway, it doesn't matter. But
They all have all the comedians have podcasts.
Yeah, that's true now, honestly.
Does that make us comedians?
Peace out, Anna.
Good night. I'm all for like the concept of like, because I fucking hate lawns. I think they're just overrated for the most part. Like, are you playing ball on it? Like, then it makes sense. But like, I think the concept of having to have like the greener, better lawn than your neighbor is like, I personally, I think it's dumb. I think
I'm very proud to have at least one friend that will have a backyard cultivated with pure zoysia. Zoysia, however you want to pronounce it. That's the stuff like, middle of summer, you can just walk out there barefoot. It's a dream. It's just, it's a peaceful, loving hug on your feet year round.
No, getting your feet in grass is great, man.
Yeah.
Don't get the St. Augustine. It'll cut your feet all up.
Look, I've got Bermuda, I've got clover, I've got, but I also have bees, which are kind of vital to our whole ecosystem.
Yeah. But see, like, that's more what I was going to get at is like either like xeriscaping or using like the grass that's in your area. Like if you use the type of grass that just grows in your area, then you don't have to water it. Then you don't have to do shit. You just fucking let it just be, When we don't water ours. St. Augustine grass was like an invention, like, what was it, England? Where it was like the whole concept of the lawn, and then it kind of came over here, and then putting in invasive species of grass basically forces you to have to water it to upkeep it. That's fucking stupid. Like I don't like.
I wish I had a lawn just so I could make environmentalists mad, but I'm too lazy to keep it up, so I'll hopefully never have one.
But I don't like the idea of telling someone you can't water your lawn. That was what my point was going to be. I find them to be stupid, and I think that you shouldn't get. You live on a lawn. You don't have a lawn.
Well, that's you get around Vegas. There's an entire region around there, that have that Mediterranean climate that you're not allowed to have grass at all.
Yep.
You have to have desert landscape in the yard.
Yep.
So this brings up. So Robert had said something about like he was talking about hurricanes and like the desertification of Africa, like causing hurricanes. And I don't know about that specifically, but the concept of desertification in general has been made worse in modern times with basically we have like these like giant like mega farms where there's like one spot with all the animals, and then we have fences everywhere that are like dividing land, and we don't have herds of animals roaming around and pooping and grazing and tearing up the soil and everything and like rejuvenating the ground, oxygenating it and giving it nutrients basically through poop. But that has been more of a problem than I would say is carbon right now. The desertification in general, I think, is more of a problem that we face in modern times because of our concept of fences.
I don't know.
Vegas has drained their water supply so bad that it probably has actually elevation level. It probably has lowered.
Lake Mead has been revealing human skeletons.
Yeah.
It's down like 120 feet or something outrageous.
Yeah, it's
nuts. Do you think that Elon Musk has drilled under it and is draining the water? It's a loose theory.
If environmentalists were serious, they would be putting all their money into like researching desalination and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Because think about
why isn't that a thing more?
Whenever we have a problem in the market where not enough of something is being supplied, what do companies do? They find ways to produce more.
Yeah.
So you would think that the solution to not having enough water would be to make more clean water. But instead the fashionable solution seems to be to tell you use less water. What company ever tells you to use less of their product? This is the absolute silliness of having government manage that sort of resource.
Yeah.
Yep. There you go. Well, yeah, and Robert's onto something too. With the Coriolis effect and the solar winds creating actual winds down on the terrestrial plane, and then you got the Santa Ana winds in California. Because for environmental reasons, allegedly, they're not allowed to cut fire breaks in their forests or actually have controlled burns. So when the Santa Ana winds come around every 7 years or so, it's real bad.
Yeah.
Yeah. Then you get thousands of acres on fire.
Climate change.
Yeah. Then they blame it on climate change. Exactly.
But then when it gets real bad, then you can see, look how bad it is,
Yeah, exactly. Zane, what were you just talking about?
Desalination.
Yeah.
Yes. So the 5-hour energy guy. So he came up with a desalination thing. Apparently I don't know if he's like a Buddhist monk, but he's into Buddhism. So he's real big into this why 5-hour energy is not publicly traded. Because he's made a few $1 billion and he's giving it away to pedal powered bicycle kind of things in parts of India where he came from. That these guys can ride their bicycle for like an hour and a half and power their house for a few hours. Things like that. So you get up there, you ride your bicycle, you get a little bit of exercise, but then you've got enough power to cook your food, wash your clothes. Somebody else can ride the bike, and you've got a lamp you can read at night or watch
I've
TV.
seen the setups of those. Yeah.
Yeah, and he's giving this stuff away. Like he's choosing to not publicly trade his company, and he's using his money to give this stuff away. And one of the other things was he was a big inventor of a desalination process, and he parked some of that outside of India, and he's actually delivering clean water to some of the slums there.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Nice. Good
What
for him.
Robert had said about the long needle pine, there's another in the West. There's, I don't know if it's the giant sycamore, but one of the really tall, I think it's either the giant sycamore or the redwood, but they need fire underneath them to trigger the release of their seeds, because the tree basically knows that's when the ground is cleared and most fertile for the saplings to grow in or whatever. So fires play a key role in a lot of different tree species. Yeah.
That's cool. That's cool. All right, let's move on to our final video of the evening since we're coming up on 2 hours. This is
One of these scammers, I got him to rage over the most ridiculous thing ever.
I need something, okay?
What do you need? Can I try to guess what you need?
I will let you know once you're in the store.
Is it a plunger?
I'm talking.
Is it a plunger?
No.
Call the dollar store and up.
Go
They
to the
sell
dollar
plungers
store.
there. They sell plungers there.
Ma'am, go to the dollar store.
I know, they sell plungers there. I could get you a plunger.
Eric, what is plunger? What is it? I'm very upset with you.
For the toilet?
No toilet. No toilet.
No, the plunger's for the toilet.
I want something, okay?
Yeah, the plunger, right? You told me you want the
No,
plunger.
I don't want plunger. What is plunger? What is plunger? I don't know. Even I don't know what exactly this plunger is. Why are you telling me you want to give me plunger? I don't know what the word is. I don't know the meaning of plunger. Man, you my mind. Okay? Never call on this number again, ever.
So that lady finds scammers, and if they don't call her, she calls them, and just ruins their day with wasting their time.
Oh my god!
I love scam baiters.
You gotta go follow this lady. She is unbelievable at it. She's so stinking funny on the phone. Yeah,
That was pretty great.
Yeah, I follow her now. She is hysterical.
I can get on board with it fully now that I know it's the scammer, the anti-scammer, trolling. That's awesome.
Oh, for sure. Oh, yeah. Well, y'all, thank y'all for joining me tonight. Stephen, Alden, Zane, had a great time.
Cheers.
Cilantro. There we go.
Yeah. Which, by the way, if you're averse to the taste of cilantro, that is genetic.
I know that, Stephen. I know that, Stephen. Tastes like
you might be a psychopath.
Well, that's highly likely.
Coming from my IPAs.
I learned that about Jake when we lived together because I made pico de gallo or whatever that had cilantro in it, and you're like gagging. Like I put Dawn in it or something.
It was terrible. So anyway, this has been a great episode. Thank y'all, audience, for tuning in. Really enjoyed y'all in the comments. Really enjoy y'all watching and listening to the show.
Thanks for beating me at trivia.
Yeah, thanks for
Be
beating
on air.
Alden and Steven at trivia. Zane, no one's talking to you right now.
Zane killed it tonight, man.
Zane
My
kills
God.
it every daggum time.
Yeah,
It's
but
ridiculous.
I gotta say it every time. It's worth saying. It's ridiculous.
Fair enough. Well, make sure to tune in to Free Georgia Podcast on Monday nights on YouTube, Rumble, and Odyssey, and Tuesday mornings for all the podcast stuff, all the podcast channels. Same Liberty time, same Liberty channel. Exactly.
Yes.
Please share this show with your friends. Share our YouTube page with your friends. Share our Rumble page. Like the videos, subscribe, do all the stuff because we're growing. We're actually growing somewhat rapidly for a small show that started this is episode 35, and we get a few hundred views a show. That's not
our back catalog while you go to sleep. Listen to us while you sleep. Yeah,
absolutely. You definitely won't wake up deranged.
You won't have horrible
unhinged.
dreams. Yeah, about aliens and climate change and
So make sure you come back next week for more Liberty Libations, 8 p.m. Eastern. I think I'll be around next week. Everybody gonna be around next week? Y'all think?
My life is getting
why wouldn't it be
more and more normal? So I think so. Yeah.
Love it. All right.
Yeah.
Well, until then, peace.